Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host Mohammed Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co-author of New Success Secrets available on Amazon. On this episode, we have a special guest, Dr. Joe Perez. Dr. Joe is a certified IT professional and international keynote speaker. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Dr. Joe. Dr.
Hello.
Joe, welcome.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor and pleasure to be here with you.
Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Well, Sadiq, I've always had a passion for communicating and a passion for data. The full-time leadership role I have now at the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is it's a wonderful intersection of those two interests. And the side career as a keynote speaker, well, that's a delightful expression of those interests. Both my undergrad and graduate degrees are in education. My first career was as an educator for 10 years. I never really stopped being an educator. I just leveraged it as I morphed into my current information technology career, where I've learned to thrive over the last, oh gosh, about 30 years or so. And I've enjoyed it all along the way. There have been some really amazing people, phenomenal mentors, and loving family members who were always there to encourage me, to challenge me, to push me, to pull me, but most of all, to encourage me along the way, to believe in me all the way. I mean, I'm so grateful for those positive influencers in my life, and most of all, the incalculable grace of God. Without His blessing in my life, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm just grateful and loving life.
Wonderful. Based on your experience, what are the top three reasons why do people fail?
Good question. Well, Sadiq, I can think there are a lot of reasons people can fail, but um, I think I can probably boil it down to two rather than three. Save a little bit of time. I think the biggest ways that people set themselves up for failure is when um, they mix up blame and credit. Okay, and when they can't differentiate between disappointment and defeat. I'll tell you what I mean by that. First of all, human nature being what it is, we tend to deflect blame and accept credit, right? Oh, it wasn't my fault. That's deflecting blame. Oh, it was all me. That's accepting credit. In reality, I feel that I should hold myself accountable. I feel that I should accept blame and deflect credit. But people who do the opposite, they're destined to fail. Own up to your mistakes. Be willing to acknowledge when others contributed to your win. But when people do the opposite of that, they absolutely set themselves up for a huge fail. Um, Secondly, I'd say not being able to differentiate between disappointment and defeat. A disappointment is not the same thing as a defeat. We've all gone through disappointments, those moments in which we don't get exactly what we want, right? Well, rather than accepting it and moving on, people who dwell on that and who let those moments define them and defeat them are the ones that are bound to fail. No, instead, learn from those disappointments, right? Recognizing that life has got to go on. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Winston Churchill. He would say, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." And people who don't realize that, I believe, are the ones who are going to be the biggest failures.
Yeah, fail as a first attempt in learning. So, yeah.
Exactly.
So, what is your greatest failure story? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
Sure. Great question, Sadiq. Back in the day, when I was managing computer training, the computer training department at NC State University, that was, oh, good heavens, that was nearly 25 years ago. I had stepped into a really untenable situation. I mean, there had been no leadership for quite some time, and they were in some pretty serious financial straits. And I'll be honest with you. At one point, it was so overwhelming. I was in over my head. I mean, I was about ready to throw in the towel. The pressure was literally running me into the ground. Um, but at that point, I started doing some serious soul searching and praying for wisdom, and that brought me to the realization that I couldn't go at this alone. I was trying to do it all myself. So I just got honest with my boss, who I then found out wasn't out to get me. He actually had a great deal of respect for me, and he encouraged me to tap into my strengths of process analysis, communication, organization, and seeing the best in people. So I did just that. I met with the staff that I had left. I capitalized on their strengths, mapped out a strategy to turn this thing around, and by the grace of God and with the help of that same staff, came up with some pretty creative strategies that did just that. It did turn things around. Not to get into too much of the detail to save, to make a long story short, as things started improving, I made it a point to constantly encourage my staff to keep my door open for anybody who needed to talk, staying on top of expenses and income. And as a result, an unsustainable deficit turned into a surplus of more than $90,000 in less than 6 months. I sincerely believe that God granted me the wisdom that I needed to turn that failure, to learn from it and turn from it, right? Learn from the failure and turn it into success.
Based on your experience, what are the top three success secrets that others can model from?
Sure. Well, sir, first of all, I think that I should never be satisfied with just communicating my passion unless I have actually ignited that passion in someone else. Secondly, I always need to be looking for ways to do things better today than when I did them yesterday, taking ownership for that commitment and realizing that if I blow it, I have nobody else to blame but myself, getting back to that blame and credit business, right? And thirdly, I I don't think I can ever stop pushing myself until my work reflects that an expectation is a thing that you need to exceed, not a thing that you just meet. Too many people, in my opinion here, too many people for too long have been satisfied with lower standards and mediocrity. And that's not good enough. Not for me anyway. If you aim for nothing, you're going to hit it every time. No, that's not going to happen on my watch. I'm just going to keep on pushing. I'm going to keep on going beyond what's expected and absolutely do my dead level best. I feel that those are some of the keys to success, at least that I've seen.
What motivates you within?
Oh, wow. Well, to be honest with you, sir, as a Christian, to me, it's important to do all things to the glory of God. I mean, even people who don't believe in God, they want to do right by their fellow man. They want to give their very very best. That's a good decent motivation in and of itself. That just makes common sense. Even if I weren't a Christian, it would make good common sense to be committed to these positive common core values. I'm talking about things like honesty, integrity, hard work, excellence, those kinds of things. It benefits others because they end up getting quality work from me, right? And if it benefits me, well, it does benefit me because I wind up being trusted as somebody that can be counted upon. That's great for one's own reputation and it's great for one's standing in the community. But I take it a step further because, see, in my belief, that's what I want to do. I want to take it a step further because I'm answering to a higher power. I mean, yeah, I want my commitment and excellence to benefit my fellow man, no doubt about that. And yeah, it's nice because it benefits me as well. But on top of that, to me, it means so much more to me than any monetary reward or personal accolades I might get to know that I have pleased my Lord and Savior, to know that I've brought glory to his name, to know that I've given 120% of myself and being known for excellence, quality, and the ability to deliver. As great as it feels for you to be able to count on somebody else, I think it gives me a whole lot of personal satisfaction to know that others can count on me. And that's what I want more than anything else.
What is your company's motto?
Company model. Well, for a lot of these questions, I want to focus more on my role as a keynote speaker. I mean, DHHS, Health and Human Services, they have a motto. Solon Tech Corporation has a motto. But personally, my motto for my personal brand, my speaking brand, if you will, is bringing data to life and life to data. I want to approach everything I do in the realm of data with these four guiding principles, what I call the four life pillars of relevant data. And the four pillars I'm talking about are the four letters that spell the word life, LIFE, and that's legacy, integrity, fervency, and efficiency. LIFE, bringing data to life and life to data. That's how I want to roll.
Who is your ideal client?
Well, in my role at DHHS, Siddique, I don't really have clients. So again, I'll focus on the keynote speaking. My ideal client would be somebody who's putting together a conference that needs a dynamic speaker, one who's going to present a great topic in a compelling way with enough message, well, not enough message, with a great message and enough passion to get that message across and meet their needs, whatever they may be.
How do you find your ideal client?
Well, most of the time, Sadiq, it's been word of mouth by people who've heard me speak or at other events, or people who've seen my posts on LinkedIn or video snippets that have been passed on to others, and then they pass it on to the folks who run these conferences. So for the most part, it's been word of mouth.
What topics you speak on?
I speak on the actionability of data. I speak on innovation. I speak on professional development. My favorite topic, and the one that's the most popular, is leveraging brains and beauty for effective data storytelling. I take people on a journey from concept to reality, knowing that they know that anybody can make a pretty bar chart, but does it help decision makers to draw the insight they need from it? And so I take people on a journey through what I call the five stages of the spectrum from concept to reality and showing them how they can develop a strategy that will make them into better data storytellers. That's my favorite topic. I also speak on facilitating innovation in a post COVID-19 world where I challenge people to break out of their comfort zone, go beyond the status quo, blow away the status quo, and learn to be on the leading edge without necessarily be on the bleeding edge, to simply forget about the status quo and go beyond that and be someone who will facilitate innovation rather than frustrating it. And then the third one is a topic on professional development that does a compare and contrast between teaching, coaching, and mentoring. I call that one the madness behind the method. And I just love going over things like that, where should you be pushing your people or pulling them? Should you be depending upon adhesion or cohesion, or should it be a combination of both? And how do you achieve that? Do you do it through teaching, coaching, or mentoring? Do you have a method behind your madness, or could it be characterized as more of a madness behind your method? So I just love speaking about those things and, bringing data to life and life to data.
Why someone should hire you as a keynote speaker?
That's a good question. Well, as a keynote speaker, I believe that I'm going to pour my whole self into ensuring that when the audience leaves that room, they're going to be better off than they were when they walked into the room. If that's not my goal, if that's not my driving passion, that I'm just wasting my time and yours, rather than being subjected to this horrible death by PowerPoint, that many have to suffer through from speakers who are going to just stand there and drone on and on and on without providing any meaningful content. My goal is to break that mold, to bring the energy into the room so that people wind up being enhanced, enriched, empowered, encouraged, and educated. The five E's there, right? And maybe even entertained a little bit along the way. And again, by the grace of God over the years, people who've heard me speak know that this is what I'm known for. This is something that they can count on. And when you have somebody that you can count on, you're going to go back to them again and again. That's something that takes years to build. I mean, I've been at this thing for more than 30 years. You know what? If you give a trained monkey a hammer, eventually that monkey's going to figure out what to do with that hammer. I'd like to think that I have a little bit more sense than a monkey. So if you want a monkey, that's fine. If you want me, hey, I'm here and I can speak. I'll bring the energy and I'll make it worth your while.
How do you deliver a five-star client experience?
Well, I'd much rather them give me 6 or 7 stars if they could, right? No, but seriously, as I mentioned before, my goal is always to give 120%. I lay my cards out on the table. I'm completely honest and transparent with people. And I like for them to see that with me, what you see is what you get, and you'll get the best out of me.
How do you convert your clients into brand ambassadors?
I want people to tell at least two others about their experience with me, because if they've been satisfied with what I've delivered, then they're going to want other people to know, and that will drive more to seek me out, which apparently is working. I spoke at more than 40 conferences last year of absolutely unsustainable pace. I'm very thrilled and pleased with that. But apparently people are somehow finding out. I'm no Muhammad Siddique, so I'm certainly not a famous person by any stretch of the imagination. But people get the word out, and hopefully that'll help to drive more interest in this direction. And I'm grateful for that.
How do you handle rejections?
Hmm. Well, Sadiq, uh, nobody likes to be told no for what they want to do, right? But I try to remind myself that there are more fish in the sea. There are more other opportunities. Rather than seeing rejection as an obstacle, I want to see it as an opportunity, right? That there was a reason that this particular thing didn't work out. It might be beyond my understanding at the moment, and it might get under my skin a little bit, but most importantly, I learned that there's a lesson that I can learn from that rejection to help me to avoid making the same mistake in the future. If it was something that I did wrong, I learn from it, and idiot, don't do it again. Like the trained monkey with the hammer, if he knows that he bangs himself on his hand, it's going to hurt. He's not going to bang himself in the hand again, right? Even the monkey learns. So hopefully I'll learn better than a monkey, and treat rejection, treat this not as an obstacle, but an opportunity, not as an adversity, but as an advantage.
How do you handle an angry client?
Yeah. I hope that people don't get angry with me too often. I try to be nice, so that they don't. But sorry. But typically I like to take the 3D approach. And I don't mean three-dimensional, although I do want to be three-dimensional, and work in multiple dimensions if I can to deal with the anger on different levels, because there will be different levels of the anger. But no, the 3D that I'm talking about: diffuse, deflect, de-escalate. Okay, that is first to diffuse the anger by not allowing myself to get angry back at them. See, anger anger is like a poison, that leads to bitterness if you don't deal with it. And you know what they say about poison, right? Poison does more damage to the vessel in which it's stored than upon the vessel on which it is poured. And that's just it. It only leads to bitterness, and it fosters even more bitterness. So you don't want to do that. Diffuse. Secondly, deflect. That is, try to get to the real cause of the anger. The anger is simply a mask for what's going on behind. Get past that emotion. Try to deal with those pain points or concerns. What are they? The things that drove this person to make this outburst or to get this reaction. That's all it is. I want to act rather than react. Okay, diffuse. And thirdly, de-escalate. There's a verse in the book of Proverbs that says something like, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." Right? If somebody else is already mad at you and you're mad right back up at them, you start escalating it. Then their voice gets louder, your voice gets louder, and it's just starts escalating the situation to an unsustainable level. But instead, that doesn't work, right? Getting angry right back at that other person, that does nothing more than pour gasoline on their fire. That does nothing more than stir up the poison in your own self, the poison I was talking about earlier. So instead, speak softly, be calm, be reasonable, bring it down a notch, deal with whatever it is that's the reason behind the anger, deal with the pain, deal with the concern, and you'll find that you'll turn a potential enemy into a friend, letting them know that you're willing to listen and help them out of the situation.
We are about to move into lightning round. That means quick question and quick answer. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be, Siddique. Shoot.
What are you grateful for today?
The blessing and grace of God in my life for having provided all my needs, not to mention many of my wants as well. A super job, wonderful speaking opportunities, room for growth, but so much more than that. I'm grateful for my family, two phenomenal boys, my amazing wife, which is the best earthly gift God ever gave me. She is just absolutely wonderful to have stayed with me for more than 37 and a half years, putting up with this. If that's not enough to make me grateful, I don't know what is. But to top it all off, more than anything else, the eternal salvation of my soul. I'm absolutely a grateful person today.
How do you start your day?
My wife and I have what's called our daily devotions. We spend a few minutes reading and meditating on the Bible, then praying over the challenges that we're facing today, and interceding for others who are having it worse than we are, and then closing it with a kiss. Kiss my wife goodbye before I go to work. You do that, and you'll live longer.
How young are you?
Speaking of living longer, well, depending on the day, it's been a rough day. I might feel like I'm in my 80s. Other times I'm in the gym, I feel like I'm in my 30s. But when I'm through and the pain comes back, I feel every bit of my 62 years that I've been on this earth. So I am 62. No, sorry, not 62 yet. In about 2 weeks, the end of this month, I'll be 62 years old.
Dr. Joe, you are not 62, you are 18 years old. Rest is all experience.
I love that. That's an excellent way to look at it. You're as young as you feel, and
Yeah.
sometimes I feel pretty young.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
Stay awake and have more fun.
What's your plan to achieve your goal?
Get more sleep and stay out of trouble.
How do you overcome a challenge life throws at you?
Wow. I think if I recognize the biblical principle that with the grace of God, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, um, any challenge is just another stepping stone for me to prove God's grace in my life and the strength that I've been given. Another opportunity to prove that it's something else that I have learned to master and conquer and move forward by, once again, as I said earlier, looking at uh, obstacles as opportunities, looking at adversities as advantages, looking at losing as a lesson. Then I feel that I can surmount that thing, learn from it, and come out on top.
What is the advice you will give to a younger yourself?
Um, Don't pull nose hair out because it'll hurt even worse when you're older. No, seriously. Keep your eyes on the goal. Don't let up. Be grateful for others and stay on the right path.
Once you have a revenue-generating idea, how do you convince your significant other?
Well, I mentioned my wife earlier. Oh my goodness, Sadiq, she's absolutely my biggest cheerleader. So to be honest with you, she doesn't really need a whole lot of convincing. I mean, she has supported me so much more than I deserve. Her value is beyond incalculable to me. She needs no convincing at all, I don't think. Because if she knows it's valuable to me, then it's valuable to her. If it's something I'm going in the wrong direction, she has the wisdom to know how to say it to me in a nice, sweet, loving way, but also in a way that I'll recognize that, you know what? This is a harebrained scheme. Maybe I should go about doing it a different way. I value her advice very much. So most of the time, she doesn't need to be convinced. Sometimes I'm the one that needs to be convinced to maybe do it a slightly different way so it'll be even better, especially if I listen to my sweet wife.
Who is your living mentor and what's the impact?
Oh, wow. Um, so I publish a monthly military newsletter. Been doing it for 13 years, and I've been involved with the military ministry of my church, the Yellow Ribbon Ministry. That's headed up by a colonel, retired colonel from the Air Force. His name is Steve Martin. To me, that man is a dynamo. He is a spiritual giant. He loves his fellow man. He loves God. He loves his wife, loves his family. Wonderful example to me of leadership under pressure, of getting others to do things that they normally wouldn't think they could do, encouraging them on the way to go beyond what they think is their best. And he himself is willing to get into the thick of things, and he's not above doing whatever it is that he wants others to do. He's willing to do it himself. That's leadership in motion. That's leadership in action. I think yeah, I would walk on coals of fire for that man. He's been just a wonderful influence and encourager in my life. Love him to death. He's my brother, not my physical brother, but he is a brother to me.
Why being impactful is important to you?
Um, in 10 seconds. Well, because you only get one shot in this. You only get one life. So whatever you do, you got to make it count.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Hmm. Well, Siddique, I want to be remembered as the guy that makes things happen. One, the person who made a difference, the person who made someone else's day brighter, and who gave it everything he had to serve God and to serve his fellow man and to hopefully make the world a better place.
How can we support you?
Well, if you need a speaker, here I am. Visit my website, visit Sessionize, look at my LinkedIn profile, connect with me, and I'm happy to connect back with you and see what I can do to hopefully meet your needs and let you see that once again, an expectation is something that should be exceeded.
We are about to wrap up. I'd like to have a few words about your today's guest experience on the show. Here is my
Uh,
question. What would you say about your today's guest experience on the show?
Oh, Sadiq, this has been a wonderful experience. I'm very grateful to you, sir, for inviting me to be on the show. You're doing great work, and I appreciate the questions and the life that you bring to this to this community. It's just been a wonderful experience. I'm deeply honored to have been a part of it, sir.
What would you say as a final word?
Well, um, what I'd say to everyone out there in your audience, folks, whatever you do it with passion. Okay. Try to enjoy what you're doing because, again, there's only one life that you have in front of you. Leave your mark. Give 110% of yourself, maybe even more if you can. You only get one shot. And in my line of work, whether I'm at my regular job at DHHS or as a keynote speaker, my goal is to leverage more than 30 years of my educational IT and health and human service experience to communicate with others, to communicate with passion, to ignite my audience's desire for excellence in data storytelling, for one, for excellence in innovation. I always look for a light bulb moment. I want to get people not only to see the value of their data, but also to take ownership when they show how valuable they are themselves to the success of their organization. See yourself that way. Bosses, see your people that way and treat them as such. So, in general, for everyone, as you do all that, take heart. Things might look bad now to some people, but you know what? Things will get better. Keep a smile on your face. Look for the best in every situation. Try to make somebody else's day brighter because you never know what they might be going through. And whatever you do, I want to bring data to life and life to data. Bring life to life and give it the best that you have. So
Thank you so
that's my
much.
words for today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joe, for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.